All right, everyone. Welcome to Taking Massive Mindshare. And today we have Ryan and Brittany Heckenberg with the Heckenberg Group. And Ryan and Brittany, if you guys don't mind, please introduce yourselves and let everyone know kind of how you got started in the industry and a little bit about your background.
Perfect. Brittany's got a longer history, so we'll let her start and we'll jump in on mine.
So back in the day, so actually, I was a receptionist at the Metro Broker's office in high school. That's where I met Bob, actually. And so I got started there, just kind of doing a weekend gig, and then went to college. So I was there my junior and senior year. And then when I went off to college, I answered a newspaper ad for a real estate agent looking for a full-time assistant. And that happened to be Carol Duncan, who at the time, she had already been in the business almost a decade here in Colorado, and she was crushing it. And so I came on quickly. My first day with her assistant was a no-show and hungover. And Carol basically handed me a book and said, this is the assistant book, build it, do it, run it, she's gone, kind of a thing. So kind of helped build her business up to where it is and was. And then I decided to pursue sports marketing in college and got a degree in marketing. And Carol basically at my graduation handed me $1,000 and said, go get your real estate license. You're going to make a hell of a lot more money in real estate. So then I got licensed in 2004 and continued with Carol and built her up to one of the &1 teams in Colorado for several years. And then in 2017, her and I parted ways with our partnership, and Ryan and I formed our partnership. So that's my career. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Love hearing that, right? I just heard that it was like a K-Score program before K-Score was cool, right? Like you went through and someone was like, we see massive potential in you, Brittany, and please go get your license. We need you.
Yes, it was awesome. She's a fantastic woman. Yeah.
Awesome. And love to hear that. Ryan, what about you, sir?
Yeah, my background is more construction. So I grew up working for a local home builder from a home building business, and they crash. We had our first daughter about to be born back in 2008. And back in the residential construction world, they were doing big salary cuts and everything. So I jumped ship and I went into the commercial construction side of things. So I worked for a large subcontractor, a large general contractor. I got my own personal general contracting Class A license for that process. But during all that time, I got licensed as an agent back in 2010. And it was always our intent for Brittany and I to become a husband and wife team. But, you know, just as market and life, we just had to wait for that right time to join together. So I held my license independently at the downtown office, just paying my dues, doing my CE credits every year. Just with the intent that we continue to, you know, build a life by design, get our plan in place that Brittany and I could jump ship and have a two-income house in one industry, right? Which can be dangerous at times. And, you know, you've really got a plan around it. So anyways, you know, backstory, Henry, our third child, got sick. I shut my construction company down at that point, and we decided to, back at the end of 2017, to just do this real estate full time.
Awesome. No, love hearing your guys' story, right? And as we kind of go through today's agenda, right, you did say your son Henry, so would love to spend a little bit of time talking about the Superman Henry Foundation that you two run. You guys do a phenomenal job with Google reviews, personal Facebook, just staying in touch with your database. And I love Brittany's take on her time blocking. So that's kind of what the agenda will look like. And we have some, no particular order, but when we jump into it, would you guys kind of tell us a little bit more about the Superman Henry Foundation and kind of what that looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll keep it short with Henry because I can talk about Henry and blood for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
So the story is, we had just had our 4th child. Henry was not quite 2 yet at the time, and Austin was about 4 weeks. It was Mother's Day weekend, and our older daughters had a stomach bug. And so they were sick and all that stuff and blah, 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 blah. Well, Henry picked it up. And for some odd reason, his little body just got destroyed by this stomach bug. And what the course of that, it was a long ago, but the course of the bug, the virus led to basically his entire body shutting down. And so he was in kidney failure. He was needing blood at that time, and we were admitted into the ICU, and he was so critical that we really weren't sure if he was going to make it or not. And so through the course of that, we ended up staying there for 40 days. He ended up with 19 blood transfusions. And at the time, like Ryan said, he was running his GC business. I was running the real estate business with a brand new newborn and 2 older children. And Ryan never left the hospital, ever. I would come from like 6 to 8 every day, but Ryan never left. And so what we had decided was it was a pretty, like, I would say probably one of like the darkest days, for us. We just really weren't sure. And what I will say too, that we found and what we experienced, and this is where it led to like Henry's stuff, was we were actually at Rocky Mountain Hospital for Children. We were not part of Children's Hospital. And I think there's a connection with parents that are always like, oh, Children's is so great. Children's. And it is. But we felt incredibly lonely. And this is all over summer. This happened. We were there through July. And so we were just like, God, this really sucks. Like, we had friends going through other stuff at Children's, and they had visits from Bronco players, and they had this, and they had that. And not like we wanted that, but it was a really lonely place. We were in the chemo wing, essentially, is where we were. And so it was just kind of like, dang, I can't wait to get out of this. And I can't wait to like do something good with what we were dealt. And so one of the things that we needed was they had come to us because one of the diagnoses was cancer. And so we thought that we were going to be fine with a bone marrow transplant. And so we were in the process of prepping ourselves and our kids for a bone marrow transplant, thinking that they would be a perfect match. And one of the things is I can't give blood directly to Henry. I mean, nobody really can do that, but they didn't want any familiar family blood. So no familiar family blood, as it would throw off the bone marrow process. And so we really were heavily relying on strangers to go in and just donate, because part of it we felt out of obligation, like we are using all this blood, like it's a crazy amount of blood to go through. And so we're like, just please go donate, because everyone's like, what can we do? And I didn't want food, I didn't want money, right? We didn't want anything. We just wanted people's blood to help stock that blood supply, right? And so that's kind of how it started. And then, I would get parents that were like, oh, I would like to donate, but I have kids, or I can't get away. Because at that time I had a huge mommy group. So I had a lot of stay-at-home moms that I engaged with, and they couldn't get away to give blood. And so that's how like the blood drive formed, is we're like, well, what if I give them an opportunity to come donate, and basically we'll have some entertainment to entertain your kids for an hour. And that's how it kind of morphed into this Superman Henry blood drive. And then we kind of like taken it a step farther where, we'll go down to Rocky Mountain Hospital. We know some of the nurses, and ask like, who's the family in need, like around Christmas? Like, how can we bless these family? Like, they don't need to know anything about us or our story, but tell me about their ages, their kids. And like, because again, it's that lonely piece. So that's how that kind of morphed in. And if Ryan has something to add to it, but yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I think just for the piece of the blood drive, being at the Children's Hospital, Rocky Mountain Hospital for Children, and the community that you saw of other lonely families going through similar situations, diagnosis, treatments, that kind of stuff. There's a sense of a community, even though it really wasn't felt at the time, but you just know that there's been need for that. So we wanted something to be fun for the blood drive. So for the first couple of years we did it, it was grandeur. Like we have Bronco cheerleaders, we have jumpy castles, we have North Metro Fire. We did it at the Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport. We have like planes on the ground. Like we want it to be like a fun, inviting, non-scary event. And I think the blood drive has been really successful with that, because I'd say year after year, we get on average 15 to 20 brand new donors and people that have never donated, never thought about donating. And I think our hope is that just that welcome environment of family friendly, of a true need behind it, that has prompted some people's hearts to want to donate. So,
and we have seen it's been just kind of surreal, right? Like every time that we've hosted these drives or done this, there's typically been a need. You know, there was a school shooting, you know, 3 weeks before we hosted Henry's blood drive. And so it's been here in Colorado, actually. And so it's kind of one of those things where people don't realize that the need is really great. And, you know, majority of people, you know, I think the stat was something like, you know, 92% of people that are eligible to donate blood don't. So it's a crazy stat, you know? And so that's something like I grew up watching, you know, my grandfather and my dad give blood, because that's just what they did. And that's what you did back in, you know, World War II, and, you know, build that community. And so part of us too was, if we can just teach our children for first and foremost, but also teach the community and teach the people around us, like, this is kind of a dying trade, you know, that's very much needed. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I just heard, right, was that this was something that was born out of necessity and became a passion, and that you guys wanted to transform what this looked like to the outside world so that it was more inviting and less scary. And there's still a need for it. So guys, for anyone that's on this call, right, and this is the call to action. So I know this wasn't the intent of the call, but I super appreciate you guys sharing that story with us.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to let us share. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So as we're talking about taking massive mind share, and you guys have done a phenomenal job through the years, and you continue to do it. I know that we've talked about, you know, segmenting your database, your CRM. What does that look like for you guys? Like, how do you stay on top of your super busy lives and this database and this clientele? How do you keep all this together?
It's been a work in progress for sure, and we've gone back and forth with different systems, really just looking for the easy button in real estate and for managing our database. And we realized that does not exist. People don't willingly hand out all of their plans and processes for you as much as you might expect that or hope. The reality is that just doesn't happen. So I think after a couple of trials and tribulations, we just buckle down and have, at least we're on a different path now, but we're back in Brivity as our CRM, and we've fully scrubbed it. It's literally been maybe like 4 or 5 month process to kind of go through that. You know, in a CRM, as we all know, is an active living database, especially if you desire to service it at a high level, right? It's not just putting a name in and continuing to keep that name and contact in the database for 5-10 years. We really go through and we scrub, we reissue tags, because we're setting action plans based on tags, based on A, B's, and C's, based on blood drive, based on 15 different variables on how we specialize and segment our market for our customers. So
yeah, and I think to kind of add to that, I mean, the reality is we could have done this at a very high level a lot earlier in our career. And so there was a lot of missed opportunity that we have. And I don't really think that that's a problem, to be honest, for us, in the sense, meaning like, I don't have regrets with it, because I do feel the bulk of our database is pretty lean. I like that the majority of people, I actually do know their kids' names if I need to know that. It's not so robotic. And I like that about it, so I should probably have closer to 2,000 people in a database. And really we run with about 400 to 500, and we have for several years, but we really know those 400 to 500 people, we really know them. And so I think that's where the difference is. And over the years, I've thought about getting like super creative with like elite or like premier, diamond. So like, you don't call them A, B, and C, but to be honest, like that's too much brain power for me. And so it's A, B, and C. And so what A, B, and C looks like, and D, I mean, there's D. So A basically is two things. If they've done more than 2 real estate transactions with us in the course of 2 years, and or have referred 2 people to us, they automatically are A's. So these are kind of our bird dogs. These are our people that like, they love us, they know us. They are the ones that are connecting us in text with people, or emails or whatever. And I would say we probably have about 35 A's. Like, again, we don't run a large database. And so we don't have a huge number of them. I would love to have more of them, but I don't. These are anybody that has done business with us in the past 4 years. So that's how we segment it. And then a C is, just anybody that we may be in contact with, anybody that we know. The goal is to get the C to a B, the B to an A, blah, blah, blah. And then D's we know that they're people that will never use us. Like, we have a niece who's in real estate. She has her own license. She's a D, until she stops, and then she might become a D. Right. But so it's just one of those things. So one of the things that I think is really easy to do is to neglect those C's, because you're like, oh, well, they're not going to be in business with me, or they're not this. And that's not the case. Like, so our marketing is, we have, a decent amount of marketing, but we'll market to all of the C's, sometimes to D's, and just kind of get that going. But that's kind of how we segment our database. And I even remember, my OP at one point sat down with me, and he's like, your numbers don't make sense, because you are running such a small database, but yet your production is here, and it's not to model. Like, you're a 6 to 1, And I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess people like me. I don't know what it is, like, do what I say I'm going to do. It's a pretty easy process. And so, and that kind of always had stuck with me, because I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, why am I not to model? And I'm like, well, what the heck is model? And like, it was like, what does this mean? So it was all kind of learning. And then it just kind of got that way where, we are not the realtors that you're going to meet, and then I'm going to grab your contact info and I'm going to spam the heck out of you. It's just not what we do. And that's partly why our database hasn't grown to where it is. Yeah.
Yeah. My note that I just took was like, whose model? Like, whose model am I not fitting in here? Right. Like, so for everyone that's on the call, like, I know you guys said it's a very lean database, and the numbers for your database are very, very impressive. And what would you suggest everyone to do? Like, if someone was like, you know what, we got a couple more months until the year's going to end, and I should get purposeful with my database. Brittany and Ryan just told me, like, this is something that I need to do. What would be the first thing that I should start to clean my database up?
Yeah, I think the first thing to start is like, just make sure you have obviously all accurate information, right? And I think like what you really want to do, and this is what we do in the sense of, who really likes you? Like, who are the people that have referred you? Who are the connectors in your database? Who are the ones that are talking to people and engaging? And I think you really identify those people and you pour into those people and you love on those people and you engage with those people. Because it's really as simple as that. You know, you're only limited. We all have the same amount of hours in a day, right? And so it's almost like, you know, if I can have, I have this really good client, Megan, but if I can have 15 Megans, like it's wonderful, you know, and everybody she refers to me is so lovely. And like those are the clients that we want, right? So if we could just keep cloning people like that, it makes us work, you know, smarter, not harder, you know?
Well, and we downloaded our whole database out of our CRM into an Excel file. And we just actually like went through, scrubbed it, retagged it. We found all the missing links of addresses, phone numbers, contact information. We filled it in best we could, by far not perfect, but it was good going through that process, because without realizing and taking the time to understand what your clients are doing for you or trying to do for you, you can miss those opportunities. So with that example, I mean, we can have somebody give us like 3 referrals throughout a year, but if we don't like actively sit and think and appreciate that person for those referrals, they might not even be top of mind for us. So it was kind of a good process for us to relook at, you know, our 500 person database and be reminded of what these clients are doing for us or what we're not doing for them.
Right.
You know?
Awesome.
I
love
you know, and I think we all saw, right? Like we just saw all of the stats from Denmark. This is the largest increase we've ever had in real estate agents. It was almost 3,000 agents just entered. So the reality is everybody now knows 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 agents. Like that's the reality. You know, when I had first started, I mean, believe it or not, I used to get internet leads off my KW website. Like it was crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's gone. Like those ships have sailed. So yeah, I mean, it is 100% being relational, and it's just kind of going back to the basics, you know, of selling real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. So making sure that we're going through and we're cleaning up our database, that we have the right information in our database, and find 15 Megans. We all need 15 Megans in our life.
Yes, you can't have my Megan. She's mine.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, the reality is, because there's so many agents, you're going to have clients that are on, you know, our clients are probably on other people's drip campaigns and stuff, right? So I think the importance of your database, the importance of your action plans and what you do with that database is going to be the differentiator between if they're paying attention to your mailings, your contacts, or the other agent that's also their friend or a family, you know?
Absolutely.
Which leads us into Mindshare.
Yes, absolutely. So when you're talking about Mindshare, and obviously we need to, you did say some emails, you know, text messages, phone calls, those different pieces, but face-to-face, you guys do some face-to-face things to where you're getting more time with the people that are in your ecosystems. What are some of the things that you have implemented that you're seeing just change worlds in bigger ways?
You know, so when I first started, Carol had given me the advice, and she was like spot on with it, right? And she was like, just go out and meet as many people as possible. Join every club, do this. And I'm like, oh, really? You know, like she was not the one that's like, sit down and prospect for 2 hours. She's like, go have fun, be you, and go meet a bunch of people. And so, and that's kind of, you know, that's like how I got involved in mocks, and then I got involved in junior league. And then that was the thing, because it was very organic. And that was the piece. So I'm like, if I'm going to give up my time, I want it to be kind of life-giving, you know, and that's kind of how it's carried on. And so to answer your question, I'd say, you know, look at the circles that you are in or want to be in, and just organically go and start to get face-to-face with people. Like, you know, some people don't know, obviously, that we're a realtor. Maybe some people do, I don't know. But, you know, a lot of times if people like you, they'll ask questions about you, you know? And so, like I said, most everything that we've ever done has just been really organic, you know? You know, I don't, at the DMV, I wouldn't sit next to the person and say, hey, I'm in real estate, here's my car. I wouldn't. Our friends have done that, and they've gotten sales off of it, and it's successful. So that's them. And that's what we love about real estate, right? Is you can kind of create this business however you want it. And we just do it our way, and it might not always be the right way for everybody, but it works for us well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so when we're looking at these 2-3 different pieces on here, right? I see the movie theaters, I see the wrapping paper. And what would you say is the one that you do implement, whether it's here or one that we don't have a photo of, that actually, like a pop by? Is it just a small gift where they actually come to you? Is it the event? Like, what do you think has the most impact on people's lives in the moment?
I think I know, but so real quick to kind of give a basis around that. So we do, so we have roughly a 70 touch campaign that we also run at a high level for our database. Out of that, we have 28 email campaigns that go out. We have 7 pop buys. We do 9 client events. We do 13 direct mails, and we do 12 texts, and then we do a call. So out of those events, it's been trial and error year after year. The events and pop buys looked a lot different in the past than they do today. And we're really just trying to streamline these events to be as time efficient for us and cost efficient. So we're not about like renting out the Denver Zoo anymore. We rented out the zoo, and that was like $7,000-8,000, like incredibly expensive for maybe 100, 150 people. Like a really tough return on your time and money spent for that. So that's way scaled down. But I think one of the biggest responses that we get from our clients out of appreciation is the one that's pictured in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's our client wrapping paper. And so we do a wrapping paper, a bow, some tape. We do a small ornament for all of our clients that had purchased or sold a home that year, with just a small customized ornament for themselves that we get on Etsy for like $1.50 a piece, $2 a piece, super cheap. And then we drive those rounds. So I don't know, we're anywhere from 100 to 150 deliveries of these individual. They're not personalized, they're not individually personalized, but they're individual to our clients. And then there's a little cute poem that goes with it. But by far, we get the best response out of that. It's delivered maybe 3-4 days before Christmas. And just the response we get of thank you, appreciate it, so cute, this came just in time.
We do love it. So for what it is, basically, it's like Ryan said, it's wrapping paper, it's some bows, it's some scotch tape, and if they had bought a house, then there's a custom ornament, and it just basically, it's a cute poem like, I know you're out of time, you know, I'm hoping, like, I hope this comes and saves you, you know. And it is funny because it's like most of that time, like, we're kind of last minute people too. So a lot of people like have last minute gifts, and then they get this on their porch and they're like, awesome, I've ran out of tape. Like, this is exactly what I needed. It does actually have our Christmas card on it as well, like our family Christmas card. So that's one of the things that we put on there. But yeah, I would say that is probably one of the best returns we get, because we get so much client engagement from it. And it is probably the one that takes the most work. So the gift itself, minus the ornament, but the gift itself is like $3. I mean, really at most.
Super cheap.
So it's not expensive. But the gas and the time and like that, you know, it takes us out, you know, and we had to hire another like driver for us. So that's like 3 days of driving. And we each take different things. So it kind of knocks you out right before Christmas. But it's a really cute thing. And that was the thing. I'm like, I want to do something that's different. Like, we've done pies, we've done like Santa stuff, we've done all that stuff, we've done the zoo lights. But I just kind of want something that everyone can also be included in, which is the pop by. But pop buys are time consuming for sure.
Yeah, 150 people 3 days before Christmas, and that's a lot of driving.
300. It's about like 300 homes we hit.
300. Wow. Yes, like that's huge. And my takeaway was that we're all last minute people, and like that would be a huge impact, right? Like you go get that last minute gift, or Amazon just delivered it and
Yeah.
I ran out of paper, and you guys are the saviors of the day. So
Yes.
and then the 70 touch, I had to take notes quick, but I think I got them all. We'll make sure that I send that out to everyone on the call. So you guys also have 45-star reviews, at least at the time as we were putting this thing together. Firstly, that is incredible that you've taken the time to actually amass that many reviews. And as you're looking through them, everyone's just talking about the team. They're putting photos of their houses. What does this look like? How do you guys amass these reviews? How do you prep your clients? Like, what does this whole process look like?
This 100% is a plug for MAPS coaching. This was my challenge. Like one week, this was my challenge from my MAPS coach. And she is like, I bet you can't get this. And I'm like, watch. And so, and because we're very, like, we are very, like, again, we're very quiet about us being in real estate to some extent. And so it's very uncomfortable for me to ask for anything, especially a review after closing. And that's exactly what my email says to them. Like, and it's true. So if like you get to know us, it's a very well thought out email, and just say, I hate asking for anything. Could you do me a favor and this? And it makes it super easy. We used to be like, review us on Facebook, review us on Zillow, and that stuff just didn't work. Like it just didn't work. And, I think about it for myself and I'm like, I don't want to sit there for 35 minutes and, do that. And so I'm like, let's just focus on one thing, one area, which became Google this year for us. So most of these reviews are only from people that we've done business with in the past 2 years. And that was kind of the goal. So again, it was kind of one of those things, like we knew what the algorithm is for Google, and you get more hits with photos. You get more hits with specific cities. And so that's basically what the email just says. Like, if you would be willing to share a photo from your home, we would love it. It boosts our algorithm. And, we really have never had any negative response from our clients not willing to do it, Yeah. And we personally thank them after every review too. So we thank them. It was great, and sometimes they just show up and we didn't even ask, which is kind of cool. But yeah, this 100% was a challenge for my coach. So yeah.
And I would say, that's a mind shift thing on our behalf, that I don't feel that there's anything wrong about asking for a referral, especially after a smooth transaction. So I think it's gotten easier for us to ask for that piece, because we're not necessarily asking for something larger, just an item of review, which every time they're always more than willing and happy to do it. So I wish we had 100 reviews or more, and that's the goal. We should have more.
We should.
And anybody on this call, I would say, don't be afraid or hesitant to ask for that. I think knowing in the foreseeable future, everybody goes off of reviews and trusted sources, especially if you're working with maybe non-Mets, if you're going up against an interview against competing agents and that kind of stuff. You got to start building your review database now, like really better.
But that's and kind of what Ryan's saying though, but I think you have to be authentic with it too, right? Yeah. And that's the piece, like, I get reviews too, even from, other sources. And I'm like, and it's just kind of one of those things. I'm like, it was fine. But, we reviewed this balloon girl, and it was like a really sweet thing. She's like, I'm just trying to grow my business, and I really hope that you loved it. It was nice meeting you. It was a very personal email. So it wasn't like cut and paste, and it was put out to 45 people. And so that's what I would say too. Like, if that's what you're going to do, which you should do it, just be authentic with it. If you're uncomfortable asking for a review, tell them you're uncomfortable asking for a review, So don't pretend to be something that you're not. If you're not, awesome. Just say, I'm growing my business. I want to provide the same level of service, that I did for you, for someone else. So that's where I think, it's easy for us, because at first I was like, oh, I'll just copy paste, what so-and-so's doing and so-and-so's doing. And it wasn't working. Like, it just wasn't working.
We had done that.
We've done that over the past.
We had asked for a lot of reviews from past clients.
Yeah.
And it was too difficult. It was too generic. It was too Autobot. And it just was not. We've gotten a better response with just more the authentic piece of it.
Yeah. So if we can get tactical for a little a minute or so, like, what does that look like? Like, did you, after at the closing table, you were like, hey, great closing, high five, will you please review me? Like, how did this happen so that we could maybe start implementing this into our businesses?
We should be so much better at this, and we are not. We would probably have a better response if we did, right? I mean, in a perfect world, and I'll teach and then not, practice what I preach, but in a perfect world, that should probably be a congratulations. It was our pleasure, closing with you. And then kind of go into that, like the day after, like that would be ideal. And it doesn't happen. Sometimes it can be like a week or two. And it just kind of depends, and so if I take the time to sit down and be like, oh my gosh, we have these closings, let me send this email out, and so we're very delayed with that response. Our system should look like the day of or the day after it gets sent out. But it usually gets sent out within the month. And so I have noticed, and I've tracked it, if I can capture them in that first 72-hour window, they'll usually provide a review. If I can't, then it's a little bit delayed. So, I mean, there's a system and madness to it, but we don't follow it at 100%.
Yeah, I think what I just heard though was that it's not 100% in the comfort level, right? Like, even in your guys' email, you're like, you know what? Hey, we're not in this for the accolades, but it does help our business, and this is uncomfortable for me. Would you help me out? And so I get it, right? Like, this is not a, hey, we close and I'm thinking about me. This is a, hey, I'm still celebrating you. And a couple days goes by, and it's like, would you do me a favor?
Right.
Well, and some of them, some of the reviews. Some of the reviews, like there's one, it's like, I love it. It's so good because she was one of my favorite clients too, but it was a relatively low price point, but she was a single mom and we were in the most competitive market. Right. And we are just getting creamed, and she's FHA. And, Stephanie, we closed last year, right? So March of 2021. And so I had sent this year the review to her. So, I mean, it wasn't even the same month. It was years later. And it was the nicest darn review ever. It was so heartwarming because she was like, you hustled, you and Ryan, and I'm a single mom, everything that we went through. And so you could still feel the emotion of that a year ago. Yeah. And so, and I think that's the piece, part of me thought before I sent it, I'm like, oh, she closed over a year ago. It's kind of silly to ask for a review now. But I still did it. I still sent it. And it was a really great one. And that's the thing too. It was just so there really is never a bad time. There's never a bad time to ask for it, especially if that's the relationship that you built with your clients, And my guess is most everybody on the call, people like you, that's why they're doing business with you. And if you had one of those transactions, then you're probably not asking for a review. So,
Right. Well, I think a lot of it goes back, especially to what you said in the beginning, right? Is that you're staying in touch with your database, right? They've done business with you, or they haven't done business with you, and you're still reaching out to them and pouring into them and loving on them. And so I could see this getting a little weird if I forgot about them and I was transactional 2-3 years. And I'm like, hey, remember me? I know I haven't touched base in 3 years, but that's not what you guys are doing. You guys are staying top of mind and reaching out to these people. And it's like, hey, also, would you? So I love hearing that. So then Facebook, right? I think a lot of us are on Facebook, and this is kind of like, oh my God, if I could build a business off of Facebook, this is where I would love to be. And we all hear about the 4-to-1, 80-20 as far as business and personal. What does your guys' Facebook look like to keep taking just massive mind share from the people that are in your ecosystem?
So I think for us being a team, it has been interesting. It's still something that we like manage and discuss on a daily basis. And being a husband-wife team, I think there's probably more hesitation on my side that we don't want to be overbearing with our life and our business. And Brittany, which she'll get into in a minute, does a fantastic job with that. So from our Facebook and social media standpoint, I'm a little more reserved with it because I don't want to, again, come across as like, oh, like we've already heard this and Brittany just posted that and this and this. And we don't want to get like muddled out and drowned out and canceled out because they're tired of hearing from us.
Yeah,
right?
we don't want to be snoozed,
Right.
Like that's not the point.
So
we
I
want to be
think
snoozed for 30 days. So
Britt can go on here, but we try to be very intentional about a mix of life, business. We tried running our social media just solely off of our business page.
Yeah.
Not as many people follow that. You don't get as much from it. So we can talk about that on how you share back and forth from your business to your personal and so on. But
yeah, and I think that's the thing. And Charles, like I've heard that too, like the 4-to-1 ratio, and I get it. And I kind of feel that that's probably true. There will be times on my social media, like I will blow it up with listings because I forgot for like 2 months. And then there's times I'll like back it down. Right. And so, but I kind of feel like, again, at first too, with the whole social media, like it was kind of preached to us, like you have a business and then you have a personal, and they should never, ever kind of click. And it was kind of just too much effort to kind of be running both of them, if I'm being honest. And it's dumb because it's like, it's kind of one of those things where like, if I'm Facebook friends with you, I hope that you actually like me and you're paying attention to like our kids in our life. And if there's some business sprinkled in there, there's some business sprinkled in there. Right. And so I kind of thought, screw it. Like people know our story. People know our kids. Like we're just going to go with it. And we're just going to kind of run some business stuff off our personal. We do have a business page, and all of that is like, I manage all of that through Hootsuite. So I sit down for a couple days and I just kind of go through. So I have scheduled posts. I do all that stuff just so that the business page looks like it's surviving. But I can tell you, the business page is just an existence, right? It's the personal stuff that I think people can really engage and interact with. And so when you look at it, a bulk majority of it is, our family, because that's what's important to me. And right. And I think people can kind of connect with that. And so, and we have just a variety of things. We early on with business, I always got, and no offense to anybody that does this, but I always got super irritated with people that would be like, hey, look at me. I'm selling a house at the title company with a photo of me, and I'm like, that just goes on deaf ears, like that is such a turn off to me. And so I'm like, no, like I want people to know, like, man, Brad busted his ass to be a first-time home buyer, and we did this. And like, so it's for us for several years, it's always been about telling the story, because that's where I think people relate, right? People don't relate to, me posting, a $1.9 million house for sale and being like, ooh, look at us, we're selling $1 million property. They don't relate to that when they're in a condo, a first-time home buyer, struggling to make ends meet, And so there's a time and a place for that $1.9 million, like brag on me. There's a time and a place for that. And that's like, our business is so different, like our businesses, we have, a $300,000 townhome we're selling right now up to, a $1 million house. So that's who we are. And that's what we are. And that's why it's like storytelling for us,
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's really not about us. Like we're just doing the job that we're getting paid to do.
Yeah. And I think that that's where a lot of people get caught up, right? Is that they're going through and they're looking at the social media piece as a way to take more mind share. And they go through and they don't know how to tell the story, right? And they don't know, and they feel like the story is, I need to make sure that people know I'm a real estate agent. And yes, here is me at the title company with the square house. And I'm so thankful that my seller was able to do this. And it's like, what were you thankful about? And that's where you guys do a great job, is actually telling the story on how you fought and won. And then it shows up in the Google reviews later.
Yeah, It does. Well, we track everything too with stuff, right? Because one of our end of the year posts that we do, and this is probably one of the most bragging posts that we really, really do, but we track everything. So we track what the sales price was to what it sold for, how much we negotiated off the price, how much we got in seller concessions, how many houses we showed, all that type of stuff. Because when I sit there and tell somebody, oh, we closed 25 million. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean to the average consumer? Well, what it means and what it looks like is we saved our buyers over $298,000 in value of a home price. We negotiated, $78,000 in concessions for our homeowners. And I think one of them was last year was dope. I mean, I think our sellers walked away with $2.5-3 million of equity. That's the stuff that's super cool, that's why we do our jobs, because I love that sellers get to walk away with fat checks. That's awesome. That's what I want to promote. It's not a check mark or a house on a wall. It's dude, my seller just walked away with a literally wire transfer $780,000 in their bank account. That's cool. Yeah. I'm super passionate about that. I'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that as well. And so if anyone needs to rewind this and listen to this piece right here, it was go through and also tell the story about how much money your buyers and sellers made, right? The buyer was able to actually get this amount of money off of the sales price, and you were the superhero in this piece. And how much money did your seller walk away with because you got over asking, and all the different pieces. Also a huge nugget. I appreciate that. You too.
And those kind of stories help motivate your other clients, because they see the success that you're helping your clients get to. And then they call us up and they say, how can we do that? We've been helping a lot of people find additional financing now so that they can get into that position, right? So those are great conversations to help people, to teach them into the vehicles that they can get equity or use the equity that they have in a current home, or loans that are available to them so that they can go build more wealth, right?
Yeah, love it. So I reached out to Brittany and I said, Brittany, would you mind please sharing your calendar with me? I am sure it is just filled. And she said, next thing I know, I'm getting these text messages of these sheets of paper on how Brittany stays organized through her week. Brittany, will you break down kind of what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so I do have to say this. So we do use an Outlook calendar, and Ryan is the king of this. This shit is color coded. It is unfreaking believable. And I am dumb to the basics when it comes to this stuff. He sets the time 30 minutes before the appointment, so he has driving time. And that's just not me, right? I'm I like pen to paper. It is what it is. But I have learned to conform with the Google Calendar as well, especially with family stuff. And so what I try to do, and never ever 100%, but I just have a stupid piece of paper that outlines, 9 to 5, which in reality, we actually probably stop working at 3, because now we have school pickup coming back up. And Sundays, I just sit down and say, what do I need to do for the week? And what are my appointments? What have I already committed to? What are we doing? And I just kind of lay it out. So it keeps me on track. There's some things that are non-negotiable for me, in the sense of my check boxes at the bottom. One is Brivity, which is my CRM. So it challenges me every day just to get into Brivity, just log in and see what's going on, right? So that's that. One of the boxes is pray. Am I praying? Am I thankful for stuff? One of them is a values journal. So I just have a little app that actually reminds me at 6 a.m. Get in there. What am I thankful for? What are the 3 things I'm grateful for today? Prospect. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. Did I just prospect today? And then what was the thank you notes? And then writing thank you notes. And I do a lot of stuff with send out cards. I have a ton of thank you notes, physical at my house, and I'm really bad at it. But I actually am pretty decent about logging in to send out cards, typing something up, and mailing it. So that's what the bottom piece looks like. And it kind of changes, you know, it just changes what I'm doing. I try to get in there some marketing time because that's kind of the one piece that I don't ever want to let go of. So we've kind of like handed off marketing stuff to people before, and I think the tone changes. So I try to allocate time in my day for marketing. I allocate time in my day for flyers, answering emails, doing all that. I have a reminder on my phone that goes off at 4:30 every day to like answer text messages. And I know that sounds really stupid, but it's true because I get bombarded with text. So I don't sit and like go through it. So I need a reminder to go through, stop from 4:30 to 5, and then just go through and answer every text message that I have. So it's kind of that type of stuff. I'll attempt to follow the 13-week cycle with the letters of the alphabet and make my calls. Yeah. And so that's just kind of what you're looking at. And then usually I have like 3 goals for the day. Like, what's my 3 goals? Like, is it getting the newsletter out? Is it doing this? Is it doing that? And then I just kind of write down. And a lot of it is looking at our marketing calendar that we set up all year, and then diving into that week and saying, these are the items that are on the agenda for the week. And like, you can see, like, there's like white space and stuff here. Like there's like, so I don't follow a schedule like 100% every single time. I just don't, because I try to move stuff around, but I do feel better if I can get my 3 goals accomplished and then nail like 3 of the 5 boxes at the bottom for my day.
Yeah. Brian, I know we don't have yours up here, and we did hear that yours, it sounds like it is a very beautiful calendar. And what does that kind of look like for you?
You know, life is very busy with 4 kids and in a job and everything else. So yeah, I mean, we definitely have to be very structured and organized, and we communicate a lot as a team and as a family because we have to just to survive. But you know, we wake up every day probably about 5 a.m. We go to bed maybe about 10, 11 every night, at best case. I mean, long days. There's a lot to do throughout those days. My calendars look pretty similar to this. And I think, you know, Brittany and I are both in mastery coaching. So they're huge on criticizing, helping, reviving our motivation, our, you know, and just our focus. So, yeah, so it looks very similar to that, just in my opinion, a lot more structured and organized. And I like looking at things and knowing off of color what needs to be done without having to like read it all, right? So
yeah. Well, what I just heard, right, was that there's no wrong way to time block as long as it's time block, right? So Ryan has a very structured Google Calendar. I heard Outlook, but I just went to Google immediately. And then Brittany's is very much so. These are the times that there are non-negotiables. These are my non-negotiables for the day. And these are the things that need to happen through my week. And so we fill in the space as they happen, but these need to happen at certain times as well. So it sounds like it's keeping both of you on track, and it's working.
It works. Yeah,
it works.
We could always be better.
Yeah, we could always be better for sure.
Yeah, we're all human. We all have opportunity. I'm with you. Yep. So where should we start, right? So you guys went and we talked about a lot today. And if we are looking to really start scaling our businesses this year and start looking through our database, our CRM, our contacts, what would you suggest us to do? Should we start with our close friends? Should it be business relationships? Should it be our social? Like, help us put together a game plan to start tackling this over the next few months.
Yeah, I do. I think that you really have to start with the people that you are currently in relationship with, you know, and for me, just starting off, that was like my family, right? You know, my friends and my family. And so they did get, you know, email drip campaigns, and they got, you know, mailers. And I remember Pam Kiker had actually told me one time when I was doing a mastermind with her, brand new in the business. And she's like, honey, it doesn't matter what you send them. At least they know that you can afford the stamp. And I'm like, oh, I kind of like that, right? Like, kind of smart, you know? And so that was the thing. So like, I would just mail stuff, you know, like cute things, like letters from the heart kind of stuff that we were doing. And then obviously social media evolved. But that was the thing. I just would be consistent with mailing them, you know, on, you know, a 12-month a postcard or something, just start somewhere and just be able to afford the stamp that you have, you know. So we did start with friends and family. We did quickly learn that those probably were some of the harder people to refer us business to because they knew we were brand new, right? And so we had to earn that trust to become a referral partner for them. So then that's when we started branching out to and building contacts within the industry, right? Lenders, like, hey, like, let's reciprocate business. Let's do, you know, open house leads. Let's do the internet. Like, so that's kind of how we started. And then as it evolved, same thing. It was like, who can we be in relationship with and make an impact? And then that's kind of how it just started going. So I would say, you know, first with the people you know, so that they know that you're in real estate, and then reach out to other services, you know, lenders. I have like a stager that would like refer me business, house painters, you know, HVAC, start building that referral list too. So you can be top of mind with these contractors, you know? And because they don't know that you're necessarily brand new, you know?
I don't know, you know, I guess this is my opinion. I don't know, like, so I would agree with the order of operations on how you go through with that process. But I think where we saw the most leads in business start coming is probably from our sphere of influence. And that was getting involved into church, into community groups that you enjoy. If you go to breweries, if you do mountain biking, and I think just do community and life with people, I think that's where we saw probably our biggest shift of referrals and business to come. You know, family and friends can be limited to a point unless they're your bird dogs to refer.
Do you guys know that we just kicked my brother off of our database? And I told him that, like, his butt went from a B to a C, and he knows that.
And now they're all upset because
they're
like, we didn't get to go to the movie.
They didn't get invited. And I'm like, you haven't referred us business in like 10 years. You're my brother.
It's not personal.
Not personal, you know? And so that was the thing. So I think like, so Ryan's like totally right. Like we did start with friends and family. And then that's when we started meeting other people, because it was kind of like the friend piece would be like, what kind of try you out, you know? And that's just kind of how it like grew with stuff. So,
well, you know what's really crappy about friends at times is say you own a restaurant and your friends come in and they say, hey, what kind of discount are you going to get me off my meal? What can you give me for free? That's not how true friendship should work. The way it should work is, I'm so excited you own this restaurant. I'm going to buy everything on the menu. I'm going to tip big and I'm going to support the hell out of you. And I think we realize friends want something for free for whatever reason that comes out of it. And we don't necessarily see that when you come up with new relationships, sphere of influence. People don't feel that entitlement that you owe them something or they're going to get something free out of your success. Right?
Yeah. So as we wrap this up, everyone, what I heard today, right, is that we all need 15 Megans. It's just not Brittany's Megan that we can have.
Not my Megan. She's my Megan. Yeah.
Yes. The database can be 400 to 500 people as long as it's clean and it has the right information and that we're feeding it daily. We're going through. We need to ask for reviews. And there's no wrong way to start. We just need to start and just pick a place and just start moving forward. And don't be afraid to kick brother from a B to a C.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Brittany, Ryan, I super appreciate your guys' time that you poured into us today. And really just appreciate the nuggets that you gave us. And I know that I have taken a full page of notes, even though it's blurred out, but it is here. So thank you both for your time. And I hope you guys just keep crushing it through the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah.